Hey folks, man, this is Monk, and we are back with another episode of Classes of Cinematics, and this is the show where we talk about the films that shaped and warped our childhood film-going memories. And for the month of October, folks, we're going to be digging into Stephen King's adapted horror films, man. So that's a special treat for you. And we brought some friends of the show to help us out today. So we've got Patsy and Ashes of the Throwdown Thursday podcast and the Shark Bites podcast sometimes.
Yeah, so we are Throwdown Thursday, and what we do is every week we throw down a new character to dissect, talk about what we like, what we don't like, the history of the character, its contributions to pop culture and the world around it. There are character battles, science facts, lots of wine, tons of fun, so definitely tune in.
And Shark Bites is kind of like an overflow. So when we have, some topics that may not fit exactly the format for Throwdown Thursday, we do a Shark Bites. So Shark Bites could be about anything. I could interview a young adult author. We could talk about coronavirus, or we could talk about Mel Brooks movies. It doesn't matter. And
everything in between.
Yeah, and the first 6 episodes were all Star Wars episodes, leading up to the last one there. What the hell? Rise of Skywalker.
It was very memorable, apparently.
Yeah, well, it was like 3 years ago. I'm trying to remember when everything came out.
Yeah, so that's what's up. And I'm joined as always with my co-host Bobby Blockbuster.
Yo, yo, yo!
Almost forgot, man. Well, so today we've got an interesting one, folks. We're going to be talking about Stephen King's Christine, and this one's great. It came out in 1983. It's directed by John Carpenter, the master. And the story goes as this: unpopular nerd Arnie Cunningham buys a 1958 Plymouth Fury, which he names Christine. Arnie develops an unhealthy obsession with the car to the alarm of his jock friend Dennis Gilder. After bully Buddy Repperton, I love how they're characterizing all the characters. Christine, the car restores itself to perfect condition and begins killing off Buddy and his friends. Determined to stop the deaths, Dennis and Arnie's girlfriend decide to destroy Christine. And this is a wild one, man. Like I said, 1983. And I guess we'll start with, let's go with Ashes. What's one thing that you like about this film?
Oh, my goodness. I love the simplicity of the concept. Young high school student purchases a car that ultimately possesses him. And it sounds stupid. It sounds like it would be a really stupid film. I remember when I first saw it, it was on, I forget what channel does it, but they do all of the horror films. Is it AMC that does, the Thrills and Chills October or whatever? So that was, I first watched it on television, and I want to say I was probably in my early teens when I first saw it, and I was like, oh, this is gonna be stupid. And I was on the edge of my seat, which is, again, such a weird thing to think about because it's such a simple concept. But when you take everything into consideration, how well, especially the lead actor, how well that role is played, the practical effects, which are just beyond, and you come to expect that from a Carpenter film at this point. Yes. And the directing, the fact that it is a Carpenter film. When I think of John Carpenter, the first movie that comes to mind is The Thing. So seeing him do something that is so simple but so complex at the same time, it's really delightful. And it's one of those films that I actually haven't watched in probably about 13, 14 years. So rewatching it last night, I mean, it was good. It was just like the first time, you're watching it and, you're really rooting for him. But at the same time, the lead guy, Arnie, he just becomes such an asshole.
Yeah.
So, and again, like that, on our show, we delve into, the dissection of the characters and whatnot. So Arnie is a great character because he has this character evolution, this really unredeemable arc. It's so interesting to watch.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a great simple story to me because I think one thing that stands out is the universal appeal. In everyone kind of remembers that high school era where, you know, getting that car or even having a friend that got a car, suddenly your world gets expanded so much bigger. It's freedom, it's independence, it kind of even raises your status, you know, in the school a bit even, you know, it opens so many possibilities, man. I think that's part of, you know, why this thing works so well.
Well, and also, you know, I like that, you know, it really touches on the love from, you know, person to car. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, there's so many people that, you know, you get a car and they, you know, especially like with dudes, they will refer to their car as a woman, like, oh, my baby, this, that, whatever, you know. But with this film, you know, it kind of, it's in reverse. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's not just Arnie having love for his car, treating her, you know, the car like a woman, but the car is actually, you know, loving him back and then being jealous with, you know, the way he's maneuvering, doesn't want him to, you know, have, you know, anyone else in the car, gets jealous with the girlfriend and things of that nature. I thought that was a really cool dynamic to bring into this film as well.
Yeah. So what about you, Patsy? What's something you like about this?
This was the first time I had seen this, and I'm kind of ashamed because I am such a big fan of Stephen King's work, and this is one of the few books and movies that I have not experienced. So I'll probably have to pick the book up now and read it. Well,
and this was during Stephen King's phase where he would just snort a bunch of cocaine and write.
Yeah, this was a cocaine-fueled story. It's why it reminds me very much of one of the stories from his book Night Shift, Trucks, which was made into Maximum Overdrive, combined with, you know, now as I'm thinking about this a little more, combined with The Shining, where, you know, Jack Torrance is possessed by the spirit of the Overlook Hotel, Artie is possessed by the spirit of Christine. Like, it completely changes who he is. Like, he goes from kind of like this meek, mild-mannered, you know, nerd to like, oh, I'm an uber badass and I'm dating the hottest girl at school and, you know, I'm going to choke slam my dad and, you know, like all that.
That is one of my favorite parts, though. When he shows up with that collar.
Oh yeah, he's good to go. Yeah,
it's over. He's gone.
I will say this. This definitely is has the Carpenter trademarks of the awesome synth score. Like those nice, and I know Carpenter didn't do it, but it reminded me of The Thing, because The Thing was done by Ennio Morricone, because Carpenter just had way too much to do on The Thing to also do the score. But it had like those deep bass tones, kind of accentuating the action. And again, the practical effects. The effects supervisor for this was a guy named Roy Arbogast, who also worked with Carpenter on They Live, Escape from New York. He also did Close Encounters of the Third Kind, in The Master of Disguise, but I wouldn't really tout that as a big accomplishment. But also What Dreams May Come. Like, if you've seen any of these, like the special effects and like the set pieces that were put together for this were incredible. So, I mean, this guy knew what he was doing, and some of these scenes just absolutely phenomenal of the car repairing itself. I loved it.
Yeah. So what's something else that stands out for you, Bob?
Oh, for me, I mean, I love the cars. They are, you know, they are a presence in themselves. I mean, it's almost like, you know, watching like American Graffiti. You know what I'm saying? In a sense, I mean, you get all these different cool cars, but the other thing that I really love is the soundtrack. Because the soundtrack gives the cars a voice. You know what I'm saying? The way Christine plays songs relevant to what's going on. Like when Dennis tries to get into the car, you keep on knocking, but you can't come in. I mean, things like that. I mean, I think that really just made this film just hit that much heavier, you know, with the concept that they were trying to deliver. You know what I'm saying? And that just, it works for me.
Yeah, it's almost like what they did in Transformers later with Bumblebee. You didn't talk, and now you're giving it a voice.
Yes.
For me, I definitely love the background buildup of the story. Like how we get, you know, the car coming off the assembly line. Even right there, that moment is so cool to me because, like, we're seeing like what was that? 20 years before this film takes place. So this is like Detroit. in its prime, dude. And you see the industry in full swing, the full assembly line. All these guys are working hard, but they look like they're living good. You know, so back then you can have a job like this and probably send you a house and send your kids through college, but you can't do that now. But you see the whole vibrance of this, and then the line itself, I love that fact that this car, as soon as we see it, it clamps the lid down on the guy's hand, and then the other guy he dies in there, flicking the ashes, and then when he even goes to buy the car, you get the old man. There's always that old man, the scary old man. Why don't they ever make like a nice, clean-looking, friendly old man? But it's a scary, crazy-looking old man. The last guy that had it, he died in it. And,
You know who that guy was?
Who was that guy?
That's the dude from Home Alone.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
The creepy old man from Home Alone.
Guy. Yes. Oh, wow. Good pull. That's a good pull.
I looked at him. I go, that's Home Alone right there.
Yeah, but I love all of that little stuff, man. And even he was obsessed with the car. Then you hear that this car was awful. Like the car, the kid died in the car. You know what I'm saying? The wife died in there somehow, and then this guy sits in there with a hose in the, you know what I'm saying, and gasses himself to death with carbon monoxide poison. And I'm like, are you really trying to sell this car or not, dude? Like, why are you telling me all of this crazy stuff, man? But I love all of that, like all of that background. It just helps to build up the mystique of this crazy, possessive, demonic car, So when things start happening, I'm here. I'm on for the ride, I'm here to see this to the end.
For me, watching the beginning of this, like I'm sitting there, like if I had no idea what was going on, and it's like beige car, bright candy apple red car. Gee, I wonder which one we're going to be focusing on.
Right, exactly.
But you can tell that Stephen King did not write the beginning of this, this wasn't from his movie, because if you've read any of Stephen King's stuff that takes place in the 50s, like anything that he's written that takes place in the 50s, like take It, for example, anytime there's a black dude, he's surrounded by racists. So there's no way that guy would just be like, I'm just going to go chill out here. And while all my buddies are working on the assembly line, I'm just going to go chill in the car and listen to music and smoke a cigar. That to me is the realistic part of this Stephen King adaptation.
If you see one of these cars rolling down the street right now, you'll be like, that is a sweet ride. Because it just has those classic angles, the round, bubble edges. It just looks cool.
Well, and they said Stephen King actually, he chose the 1958 Plymouth Fury because it was a forgotten car. It didn't have any, it didn't have a name for itself yet outside of being what it was. It was like a forgotten automobile. You know what I'm saying? So without this film, it would just be lost in the shuffle. You know what I mean? So that was a really cool choice instead of like picking something more, more notable like a Camaro or
a Mustang or something.
Mustang, you know what I'm saying? Even though Dennis's Dodge Charger was super dope, though. That
but how perfect is it though that they chose a car called the Plymouth Fury?
Hell has no fury like a woman's
scorn. Yes. There's definitely angles. But I think for me also one of the great things is just like Ashes touched on earlier, the transformation of our main character, and I think that's depicted so well because and also you get the conflict with the parents, man, which I actually like too because you got kind of the overbearing mom because the dad didn't seem to care too much. He's gonna roll with whatever the mom said, which I thought was interesting. And if she was leaning too hard, he's going to back her up. If she's going to cut him some slack, he's going to back her up. But it's funny because they're not even letting him keep the car in the house, man. So we see him once he gets this car, and his personality just goes to the roof, man. He's like the collar's turned up now. He's talking back to people. He's just the man, and it's funny seeing the personality of the car start coming out in him, man. It's amazing. Like that scene at the drive-thru, where he's taking the girl on the date, and then the car's like, nah, I don't like her.
Makes her choke on a cheeseburger.
I love it. Well, you know what? I don't even think the car made her choke on a cheeseburger, but I think the car was trying to keep her from getting help when she
locked in, bright lights and everything. I mean,
I love that green glow that comes on too when all this is going, like from the radio, like that those classic. Oh man, this thing really does hold up, and I think it's well directed. It's such a treat to watch this, man. I love this movie.
And to your point with the transition of Arnie, I think it's really cool with what they did with like the costume design, like
yep.
Because they're really paying homage to the 50s. When you look at his dress, like there's one point where he's dressed like a greaser, and there's another point where he's got like the leather vest. There's even one point where he's wearing the red suede jacket like James Dean in Rebel Without a Cause. You know what I'm saying? Now, all these are 50s style, styles of dress, which this is, the year that this car came out. And I thought that was really cool because it's like, as Christine is possessing him and he's, refining himself and getting all swagged out, he's also, going back to the time where she was created. She's like bringing herself, like transitioning herself through him in a way with the time. I thought that was a really cool element to bring to the film as well.
And his color palette changes too. So he goes from like these nice, soft jewel tones, like the blues and stuff that he was wearing in the beginning, when his hair was all slicked back, kind of greasy with his glasses and everything, to wearing predominantly red and black.
Yeah, Christine fixed his eyesight. He didn't have to wear glasses.
He didn't have to wear glasses no more. Yeah.
That to me
this is before LASIK too.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
Like, he might be wearing contacts, but like...
But also, credit to the makeup department for slowly, over time, adding to his look. He becomes more gaunt looking. The circles under his eyes become more pronounced. Yeah, when he's visiting his friend in the hospital, and he's just like, staring, and his eyes are big.
Stare.
And he's not blinking at all. Like at that point, he is completely possessed. And I thought that was just such a nice touch. Just those little nuances that really make you believe that he is no longer Arnie. He is completely 100% like just indebted to Christine.
See, I thought this was like they could have used this as a great car commercial. Like, look how durable our car is. No, like at the end when they're like crushing it with the bulldozer, they're just running it back and forth. The radio's still on, the lights are still on. Like, it takes a lot of damage. It's like, look at that.
They used 15% of their budget
on cars.
On cars, yes.
Yeah, and I, working on films, for if it's a newer car, it's a lot easier to do. Like, they'll usually have 2 picture cars. But if they're trying to get like a car that's like a period car, even with something as innocuous as like a 1989 Corolla, like, you only get one of those. So to have as many of these cars that they were able to get, and then of course like the stunt versions, like the plastic ones that they, bent and molded and put like the hydraulic hoses in to show the transformations. Like, to have that many of a single car is wild. Because you got to store them, you have to find them, you have to buy them. Like, most of the time, like when these cars come out, like when you see like period cars in a movie, it's like these are cars that people own. Like, the people that are driving them in the movie, those are the owners of the vehicles.
Right.
So like I worked on a film that's set in the 70s, and like we had all these different cars, and you get paid like $350 a day depending on the production.
That's kind of some good money.
Well, that's just for the car. You get paid too. So you get like around $500 a day, and it's like, all right, yeah, we need you to bring your car here, and then drive it down this road like 67 times at like 12 different angles. And like, that's it. That's all you have to do. So the fact they were able to get that many of these and knowing that they were going to destroy them, like that. It's like, I don't know how attached you are to this car. I'm sure like one or two of them actually had like some sort of Christine story to them.
One more thing that really worked for me in this film also was the bully element. Buddy Repperton, he was grade A douche, and he portrayed it well. I don't know why he felt the need to have to switchblade the yogurt in the beginning. You know, it's like, dang, dog, like you're that bad off, you know. But I think that also really it really gave a good element to this when showing the transition of Arnie and him getting all swagged out and everything like that. That was really cool as well, and he did a good job.
Yeah, the bully tripped me out because all I could think was like, man, this is John Travolta's brother.
He's
like,
Jack John Travolta.
Yeah,
he's Jack John Travolta.
Also, he was a high schooler.
Yeah,
yes, but you know, he was
11 years ago, but I'm still here to bully.
I think he was super seniors.
We got left back a time or two because it's funny because you know our main cast for the most part, I think our main guy looks the part, but his friend and fake John Travolta, they kind of look a little older. I feel like
He was
they
24. He was
24.
Yeah.
24.
He was only 24.
But
that's a rough 24.
I'm looking at him. I'm like, all right, there's the boots, there's the tight pants, there's the tight shirt, the cigarettes rolled up in the sleeve, and the switchblade. Yeah, that's a copy and paste Stephen King bully.
Yeah, definitely.
Like that's Henry Bowers from It. Like, you know, the kid from Stand By Me. Like that's cut and paste Stephen King bully.
Yeah, but I guess for me also, I mean, you alluded to that a little bit earlier, the special effects, because I think that's the magical moment of this film. Once the bullies, you know, come around, because now, you know, our man, his status has gone up a little bit. He's got the cool car. He's got the, you know, the girl of the school, you know, that everybody wanted. And they decided to wreck Christine, and that's like a really cool scene, man, to destroy this car. And I think he's coming in to pick the car up so he could take her out. And he sees a car and he loses it. The car just is done. The girlfriend leaves because he's just inconsolable at this point. But then this is the crazy part, man. This is a really cool moment to me because it signifies their connection because the car is not saying anything, but I think they're connected on some telepathic level. And he looks up and he's like, show me.
Yeah.
Show me.
The engine repaired itself.
Yeah, the car just starts like, oh, I wish we got an extended version of that, but I think if we made this in modern times, we could have stretched that scene out. And it's weird because I remember when I first saw it, you know, when I was a kid, it seemed like that scene went on for 5 minutes of that car pulling itself together. Maybe it was just wow, there's so much of that time, but really it's like 10, 15 seconds of this car just, you know, pulling together. But that was so cool, man. And I think Patsy alluded to how they did it. They basically had all these hydraulics inside the car that pulled it, you know, together, and then
like rubber. It was a rubber car. Like it wasn't metal. It looked metal.
Yeah,
well,
it was like
plastic. Yeah, plastic. Yeah.
And they, what did they do? They filmed it in reverse, so when they played it back, it looked like it was actually popping back out. You know, but I think it actually is done way better later in the film when they're trying to destroy it with the caterpillar, and every time they hit it, and then it starts popping back out, and it does that like 3 times, and you're like, yo, this car is indestructible. This is. It's crazy. It still holds up. Like when you're watching, it's just a real magical moment that just adds like a certain, like gives this film a lot of character. Just like and a mystique to the car itself. Yo, that's crazy.
Yeah,
it's definitely like a video game boss fight.
Yeah, definitely. And also, you know, you can't talk about this film without. I mean, we've touched on how awesome this casting was, but you know, I was looking at some notes and stuff. You know. Nicolas Cage tried. He auditioned for the role of Buddy, the bully. Imagine Nick Cage being that guy.
And Kevin Bacon turned this down in Footloose.
For Footloose, yeah. I was like, wow, man. So you know, it's funny how things work out. You know, once all the smoke clears, but they did a great job with just as a whole with you know the end product of this film.
Yeah.
I was gonna say they managed to get Tom Brady though. Tell me that kid looks like a young Tom Brady.
Which,
Like a football guy. He looked like a really young Tom Brady.
back in like the not right when he was drafted, because he was kind of chunky Tom Brady, but like once like the 2000s, the early 2000s, when like he had that cut to his face. Yeah, all right, I'll give you that.
Yeah, it's crazy, man. But it gets kind of goofy at times too. Like I love the detective when he's coming around poking, and I'm like, he has a feeling that something's up, but then it gets a little weird. Like I love that scene though when he's talking about the paint.
Yeah, where'd you get that paint?
Where'd you get that paint
That's
from?
good. That's very special color red right there.
Yeah, he's like, I heard this thing was totaled. And he's like, no, they just dinged it up a little bit, and it gets weird. And it, like, even after we get to the point where they, end of the film, I'm like, the detective is just know that this car was out here killing people.
Right.
It got a little weird to me. I'm like, yo, this doesn't make sense. And he's cool with just letting that, ride. Like, yeah, it gets a little goofy, toward the end, especially when all these people start turning up. Like, I always thought it was funny when these guys are running down the street and this car is chasing them. I'm like, yo, why don't you get inside somewhere or maybe get off of the street, where a place where.
Yeah, that's what I would say.
Yeah. Like, have you heard of indoors?
Well, like, when the car first comes after him, and the kid climbs up onto the cement barrier and then down onto the other side. It's like, I know where you can't get me. The middle of the road. It's like, why don't you get up on the cement barrier? You can't jump.
Yeah, but there is some cool stuff. Like I love when the chubby kid is in the alley.
Oh,
and he's in the car squeeze. I'm like, dude,
he pulls the knife out. He's like, I got you, Arnie. What are you gonna do? You gonna pop the tire?
But did you see how slow the car was coming? I'm like, you could have just jumped over the hood and
like the car is
literally ripping the doors off to get it. Yeah, come on, man.
It gets a little wild, man. But even then, like, I think there are some cool sequences, especially like that gas station blowing up. Like I thought that was amazing. And it's on.
And the car chasing the kid down on fire and then runs him over. Then he's on fire. Did you notice the first kid that got killed, the kid that was in the car with Buddy there? Was the dude from Ghostbusters.
Yep. Yeah, the one Bill Murray was messing with.
Yeah, he kept electrocuting him so he could go out with the blonde.
Yeah. You know what? One more thing that, I really like about this film, it's testament to good friendship. Shout out to Dennis for not being an a-hole jock, because in a lot of these films in this time, the jock is also the bully. And Dennis was actually, like, he befriended Arnie when Arnie was, toting the little sack and stepping in puddles and tape glasses, and he was rocking with him. He rode for him all the way, and I think that was really cool, and it really sucked that once Arnie started smelling his grits that, he kind of turned his back on Dennis, and Dennis ultimately still, was riding for him at the end and helped him, get back on track and take Christine out. Yeah,
that is a messed up scene because Dennis is coming off an injury. This is like his first game back, and then Arnie pulls up to the game with the girl that he likes in the car.
That's what got him peeled.
Yeah.
It upset me because when Arnie first goes to see Dennis, he puts a little Dixie cup on his toe. Like I was like, dude, why would you do that? Like, my man is like sitting there hospitalized, can't move from the waist down, and you put a cup on his foot.
Yeah,
Arnie, not good, bro.
Arnie's a dick.
Not good, man.
Yeah, but I guess we could probably get to wrapping this up. Anything else you guys want to mention or about this film?
Yeah, just about that hospital scene where he goes to visit him on Thanksgiving and he pours him the beer and it's like almost all foam and then he drinks the rest of it. And he's like, yeah, I'm out of here. Fuck you. Happy Thanksgiving.
Yeah, I got other things to do. I was like, whoa, what an ass, man.
Again, the collar is up. His peak, man. I feel like he's had a whole lot of just snark that he's been suppressing until he got this car.
Arnie went full on Fonzie, man.
I also thought it was a really nice touch the way that they blacked out the windows of the car at times, so you didn't know if it was the car being sentient and on its own, or if Arnie was driving it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this is definitely on autopilot a few times.
Yeah. I like that ambiguity right there. It's is Arnie fully to blame for all of this, or was the car doing its thing on its own?
And also the extremely bright headlights. Like they had to hook 2 batteries up. There was one under the hood and then one underneath the car to get that extra brightness in the lights.
There is that element because I will blame Arnie ultimately for getting him out of that, buying a car from that guy and setting it in motion. But it also makes me wonder, that car had been sitting there, 3 years since the brother died in his backyard, and apparently it was just stuck there. It wouldn't have done anything to anyone unless another person claimed it as an owner. But it makes me wonder, it was just sitting there the whole time, and it was in bad shape. I mean, it could have probably repaired itself at that point too, you would think, but I don't know.
It's passing the possession on.
It's like a there's a theory that connects a lot of his work that multiple people have The Shining, but they don't refer to it. Like all the kids from It, because they're able to battle the creature. This is another type of thing. There's a Shining type relationship. So until it calls out and reaches out to him, it doesn't have that. It just kind of sits there until someone stumbles across it. Because you saw how he reacted just seeing this thing out of the corner.
Right. Well, and it also waits for someone who's weak enough that the car can prey upon. Correct.
And I would also say it's never a good idea to buy a car from a guy that looks like he cut the sleeves off a straitjacket and
yeah. And then he kept being offbeat with the price. He was like, "Yeah, I'll give it to you. I want $300. I'll give it to you for $250." And then dude was like, "All right, so you said $300?" He was like, "Yeah, $300. Nah, never mind, $250."
The money's not important, but I would like much more.
He was like, "Man, just get this joint off my yard. How about that?"
It's interesting times, but I don't know. I love this thing. It's just well put together. It's one of the better ones that holds up. It's like we were talking earlier when I watched Cujo. It's one that I think it's on the better end of his adapted filmography. I mean, there are some stinkers out there, but this isn't one of them, I don't think.
I mean, and it's great, too, because just like with Cujo, it's time-stamped, but it's an everlasting film. You can watch it now and still find all of the value in it as when it first came out in the 80s. You know what I'm saying? You don't need to be from the 80s to appreciate a film from the 80s. This one, it gives you that 80s element, but... it still holds up in today's form just because of the way the film plays out. You know what I mean?
I agree.
Yeah, I think that's a stamp of a lot of Carpenter's work too. A lot of those. I mean, it's even a lot of them were made in this era, but they still endure. The themes in them, the way they were made, they still hold up to this day. So I think that's cool. But yeah, I think we're gonna wrap this up, folks. This has been fun. I guess Ashes, Patrick, tell the people how they can find you guys at Throwdown Thursday and Shark Bites. Your website or social medias.
So you can go to throwdownthursdaypodcast.com. That's where you'll find all of the information, our socials, all that fun stuff. Some articles that we occasionally write about various things, latest episodes. You can also find both Throwdown Thursday and Shark Bites wherever fine podcasts are found.
You can join the Facebook groups for both of those as well. That's generally where we post the episodes for easier consumption. We generally just post the Spotify link because so many people have that. So it's easier. But, if you prefer iTunes or Google Play or Stitcher or, whatever you got, we're everywhere.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And this is me, Monk. You catch me at Monkey Blood on Twitter, Instagram. Follow Classes of Cinematics at Classes of Cinematics on Instagram.
And it's Bobby Blockbuster. You can catch me on Instagram at Bobby Blockbuster 118.
Yeah, subscribe because we're going to be back. This is probably going to be one of the first episodes we put out for October, but we've got more in store for you folks.
Well, thanks for having us.
Yes,
this was a lot of fun.
Absolutely delightful to be here on the COC.
Thank y'all for showing up. We really appreciate it. Yes.